I rise today to speak about the humanitarian situation on our southern border. Over the last year, we have seen a flood of unaccompanied children come from Central American countries such as El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala. In fact, the number of children has more than doubled in the past year to nearly 60,000. This is a humanitarian crisis, and it is heartbreaking. Sadly, there are some who believe they have found a simple solution to this problem, that we can somehow just round up these young children and send them back on a plane where they came from immediately. I disagree. The United States has always been a leader in providing aid and assistance to those in danger and in need. These are values that our country and Congress have overwhelmingly endorsed. In fact, the current procedures for dealing with children from these countries were set in a 2008 law. The law was signed by President Bush and unanimously passed by both the House and Senate. These procedures are in place because our values as a nation dictate that we do what we can to protect children from violence and trafficking. It saddens me that there are some who have even called for changing this underlying protective law, presumably so that we can just ship these children back to where they came from without the due process protections that this law affords. Of the thousands of children showing up at our doorstep, many of whom were at risk in the hands of criminal smugglers during their trip, 40% of them are young girls. Many are under the age of 12 and have been sent on their own without the protection of their parents or other family. These children aren't coming here because of President Obama or Democrats or Republicans. They're coming to our border because of the terrible violence and conditions that they face in their home countries. In fact, there is a direct correlation between growing violence in these home countries and the increasing waves of children coming to the United States. For example, many face join or die gang recruitment situations which amount to forced conscription, like we saw with the child soldiers in other countries. They are subjected to sexual violence and brutality. It's hard for someone from our country to imagine just how severe this violence is, but data from the United Nations offers some perspective. The UN estimates that the murder rate in Honduras in 2012 was 30% higher than UN estimates of the civilian casualty rate at the height of the Iraq War. That is a staggering level of violence for any nation to endure. We all agree that the current situation is unsustainable and needs to be addressed. But simply sending children back into harm's way is not the answer. We should be working together to address the root causes that are pushing these children to make these dangerous journeys. I'm proud to have worked with my colleague, Senator Menendez, from whom you just heard, to introduce a comprehensive plan to address this issue. That plan is a bit more complicated than simply rounding children up and shipping them out. But it is clear that this crisis requires action on several fronts. First, we should continue to crack down on human smuggling and criminal activity in concert with the children's home countries. Second, we have to honor our domestic and legal requirements related to the treatment of children, refugees, and asylum seekers. This means supporting the administration's efforts to provide humane treatment to these children. Third, we have to redouble our efforts to support peace, economic growth, and social development in Central America. I look forward to discussing more of the details of our plan with any of my colleagues who want to work together constructively to solve this problem. Only by focusing on addressing the root cause of this crisis can we truly address it. The President has been managing a coordinated response to handle this very difficult, heartbreaking situation. I hope that we can work together to provide adequate resources to professionals on the ground. We must also continue pressing for comprehensive immigration reform so that our system will not be so overwhelmed in times like these. I yield the remainder of my time.